Brad Marchand just announced he had surgery, and the timing could not be worse for a Florida Panthers team already searching for answers after missing the playoffs. Here's how this all came out. Marchand didn't have his team release a statement or wait for a press conference. He posted the news himself on social media, and he tied it to something deeply personal: missing a farewell game for his old Boston captain Zdeno Chara. That event is called Z's Final Shift, scheduled for August 21st in Trencin, Slovakia. It's a celebration of Chara's career, bringing together a group of his former teammates for one last game together. Marchand and Chara spent years side by side in Boston, both wearing the captain's letter for that franchise at different points. So, skipping this wasn't something Marchand would do lightly. In his own words, he explained exactly why he had to pull out. "Unfortunately, I had to have a surgery. Was trying to fix a problem without surgery, but unfortunately that was unable to happen and had to kind of do it last minute." That's a telling detail right there. This wasn't a procedure he'd been planning for weeks. He tried to manage it without going under the knife. That approach didn't work, and he ended up needing the operation on short notice. He continued, laying out exactly what stands between him and getting back on the ice. "With the time and recovery I am going to need, I won't be able to make it and play in the game, unfortunately." Simple, direct, no sugarcoating. And it immediately raised questions about his availability heading into training camp. So what exactly is going on with his body? The surgery addressed hip and sports hernia issues, and the expected recovery window is 2 months or possibly longer. Do the math on that timeline, and it lines up with real trouble for the start of the season. Florida opens training camp in about a month, and the regular season kicks off on September 29th on the road against the defending Stanley Cup champion Carolina Hurricanes. If Marchand needs the full 2 months or more to recover, he could realistically miss the first several weeks of the regular season, and it's still unclear whether he'll even be able to participate in training camp at all. What makes this particularly frustrating for Florida is that Marchand had been visibly training all summer. Fans had seen him working out, including footage of him doing conditioning drills alongside his young daughter. Nothing about his off-season activity suggested a major procedure was coming, which is part of why this news landed as such a surprise. This isn't the first time his body has been an issue either. He missed the final 19 games of last season with a lower body injury that was never fully specified. Whether that earlier issue is connected to the hip and sports hernia problem he just had surgery for remains unclear, but the pattern of missed time is something worth watching closely as the new season approaches. Despite all the missed time, Marchand's actual production last year was still excellent. In 52 games played, he put up 27 goals and 27 assists for 54 points, essentially a point-per-game pace at age 37. To put that in perspective, he was the only skater on the entire Panthers roster who both appeared in at least half the team's games and averaged a point per game across that stretch. That's a remarkable level of offensive output for a player who missed nearly a quarter of the season, and it speaks to why Florida values him so heavily, even with the injury concerns piling up. His career numbers overall are staggering when you step back and look at the full picture. Across 1,152 regular season games, Marchand has racked up 451 goals and 583 assists for 1,034 career points. Add in his playoff resume, where he's collected 158 points across 180 postseason games, and you're looking at one of the most productive careers of his era, both in the regular season and when the stakes get higher in the playoffs. He's also a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, winning first with Boston back in 2011 and then again with Florida in 2025. Very few players in league history can say they've lifted the cup with 2 different franchises, and that alone tells you the kind of winning pedigree he brings to a locker room. Marchand's injury doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's landing on a Panthers team that already dealt with a rough run of health problems last season. Florida had key players like Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Reinhart, and Anton Lundell all missed significant stretches of time. That combination of absences played a direct role in the team's disappointing finish. Florida, ended up placing 7th in the Atlantic Division and missed the playoffs entirely, snapping a long streak of postseason appearances that stretched back to the 2018-19 season. That context matters a lot here. This is a team that made 3 straight trips to the Stanley Cup final in recent years and captured back-to-back championships along the way. Now they're coming off a season where the depth simply wasn't deep enough to survive the injuries that piled up. And the very first news of the new off-season cycle is another key veteran going down for an extended period. There's also a contract angle worth understanding. Marchand signed a 6-year deal with Florida last summer after that 2025 championship run, carrying an average annual value of $5.25 million through the 2031 season. The term on that contract was structured specifically to help keep the cap number manageable for a player entering his late 30s. It made plenty of sense at the time. But news like this surgery is exactly the kind of downside risk that comes with committing long-term money to a player at this stage of his career. So where does all of this leave the Panthers as camp approaches? Right now, there's no confirmed timeline for when Marchand will be back on the ice. What's known is the 2-month or longer recovery window, the surgery date being sometime in mid-August, and a regular season that starts on September 29th. That means Florida is likely heading into camp already knowing one of its most reliable veteran scorers won't be ready for the opener, and possibly not for several weeks beyond that. For a team looking to bounce back from missing the playoffs, having to answer that question before the puck even drops adds another layer of difficulty to an offseason that already saw the roster undergo some turnover. On a personal level, there's also a career milestone angle worth mentioning. Marchand currently sits 48 games away from reaching 1,200 career games, a number that would further cement his case as a future Hall of Famer whenever his playing days are done. Every game he misses now pushes that milestone further down the road, though nobody around the organization sounds like they think his career is anywhere close to finished. The Panthers' championship window hasn't closed, but it's clearly narrowing after 3 straight trips to the final took a physical toll on this roster. How quickly Marchand can get back to full strength, and how well the rest of the lineup holds up without him early on, will go a long way toward determining whether Florida can get back into the playoff picture this year. Here's what we know for certain right now. Brad Marchand had surgery for hip and sports hernia issues in mid-August. His own recovery estimate points to 2 months or more. The Panthers opened their season September 29th against Carolina, and it remains genuinely uncertain if he'll be ready for it.